Welcome to our special podcast series for the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence, running from November 25th to December 10th, with your host, Charmin Prince. And together, we'll shine a light on some of the urgent issues of gender-based violence. In this series, we'll delve into personal stories, legal insights, and share vital resources that empower individuals and communities to take action. Our goal is to raise awareness, ignite conversations, and advocate for change in our societies. Join us as we embark on this critical journey to stand against violence, uplift survivors, and promote a world free from fear and abuse. Let's get started.
Welcome to the very first episode of the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence podcast series, powered by Eagles Empowered to Soar. And today we have ARREY with us. Also today happens to be the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. And you will later understand why we started today as day one for the podcast series. And ARREY is not just a sickle cell patient. She's a beacon of hope and a tireless advocate for disability rights. As the visionary founder of Joy to Endure, she empowers individuals navigating the complexities of sickle cell disease and advocate for a more inclusive society. ARREY is recognized as a World Pulse ambassador, a featured change maker, and she plays a pivotal role as a founding member of Soul Just Be, a lifestyle magazine dedicated to sickle cell awareness, and UMAS CCL. Through her insightful blogs at joy2endure.com, ARREY shares her journey and knowledge, aiming to educate and inspire those around her. When she's not engaging in advocacy or seeking personal growth, ARREY indulges her passion for reading, writing, cooking, and traveling, constantly enriching her understanding of the world. In this episode, we invite you to delve into the intersection of gender and disability as ARREY sheds light on the unique challenges and triumphs faced by women with disabilities, especially within the context of sickle cell disease. Prepare to be inspired by her story and her insights. ARREY, welcome to the Anything Gender podcast.
Thank you so much. That was quite an introduction. It is my honor to be on this platform with you to officially kickstart the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. I'm especially glad that we are using this opportunity to shine the light on disabilities and sickle cell, especially when it comes to women and gender at large. So I'm hopeful that this is going to be an educative, fun, and inspiring podcast for you and I and everyone that is going to follow through. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for honoring us with your presence and for agreeing to kickstart the podcast series. ARREY, you have a personal journey with sickle cell disease. What inspired you to become an advocate in that space? What does it look like?
You are right. I was born with sickle cell and I was diagnosed at the age of 2. So, to say, I've lived my whole life navigating the challenges and challenges of living with sickle cell. But inspiration to step to the show of advocacy started somewhere around 2015-16 because I belong to a group on Facebook which tries to shed light on social realities. And during one of those periods, I wrote a post about stigma and discrimination, using sickle cell as an example. Sickle cell is clouded by a lot of stigma and discrimination back in my country because just simply said that what people do not understand is stigmatizing. So we go back to that post. I did that post and I use sickle cell as an example. Surprisingly, the comments from that post were mind-blowing. It was kind of, I don't know how to put it, but it was kind of an eye-opener to see just how deep this stigma and discrimination is towards people living with sickle cell. So I realized that for us to be able to change the narrative, we have to step in to tell our own stories. Because if we don't tell our stories, people will continue to tell what they know, and they will do that in a way that is totally opposite to what the reality is. And that was my first inspiration to step in and start advocating using my own life experience to bring to light the realities and the challenges of living with her, while at the same time trying to demystify and educate my community about what sickle cell is all about and what it is not. And that was the beginning of my blogging. Choice to Endure was the name I selected from my blog because it summarized my life into 3 simple words. You know, The ability to find joy even while you are enduring. Something that I feel others like me can find it relatable. And well, it has been quite a journey. The joys and challenges, but a beautiful experience being a patient advocate is part of.
Thank you. And I thank you for sharing that, because you shifted my questions. And I want to ask you, what story do you want to tell us today?
And since we are focusing on disabilities, women, I think I would like to share my experience as someone who is also living with a disability. Sickle cell makes me to have an invisible disability. Also, I don't hear well. It is a complication of living with sickle cell. I lost my hearing around, I can't say for sure, but when I was still very small, before I could complete what we know here as primary school, I was already hard of hearing. So it was a challenge to navigate the corridors of education without specialized support systems in place. I basically had to rely on my benchmates in school, especially when I entered secondary school, because majority of my teachers take notes. So the risk of copying wrong notes was always so high. But fortunately, I was careful in selecting who I sit with in class. These were serious students who later became friends. They helped me with notes, and I could go back home and read on my own, which helped me to sail through. And behind all this was the support of my family. They saw beyond my...
I want you to repeat what you just said. After losing your hearing, you depended on your peers and went home and did a lot of self-studying.
Okay. My classmates, my peers, as I call them, were very supportive in helping me with study notes in school. So in school, I could copy notes sitting with them, while most of my teachers detected most of the notes. So while the teachers are detecting, whoever I start with could serve as my ear, and I could copy from her. Then I will go back home at the end of the school day. I read through the notes I copied and read through my textbooks, and also any other books, general knowledge books, that could help me to, grasp the essence of what I was studying, to be able to pass my exams and all of that. So that was basically how I passed through school. Some of my teachers were equally supportive in their own way. They had to ensure that I start with people who were able to make sure I got the right notes. So that was the way I was able to pass through school, because back then and even now, specialized support for people with disabilities is non-existent, very, very minimal. So behind all of this, I also have my family to thank for, because they refuse to put me into a box. They saw beyond my disabilities. They saw potential, and they cheered me all along to go to school. And up to today, they have remained my biggest challenges. And that is why I'm able to do what I'm able to do today.
Thank you. Before we talk about your support system, tell us a day in the life of a sickle cell, a person living with sickle cell.
Okay. I think if I was to answer your question, it can be good to go back and briefly explain what sickle cell is. Sickle cell is a genetic blood disorder, which is mostly common to people of African descent, but you have people from Asia and other African countries now affected by sickle cell. So you get it from your parents if both parents carry the gene. So my parents were AS, and I got SS from them. And that is how I became a sickle cell. Well, it is a situation, a condition that is characterized by intense body pains. You kind of feel the pains on your joints, your head, anywhere of your body can pain you at any given time. So a typical day, you can be smiling now, and the next minute you are crying because you are suddenly feeling the pain. And sometimes it is bearable. Most times you end up in the hospital. Despite that, in my case especially, I've tried not to make my life revolve around the sickle cell pain. I've tried to take advantage of those pain-free days and do the most I can do to make my life a bit better. I've tried to develop a more positive outlook in life. Let me just say, I've tried to turn my pain into purpose because I realized that dwelling so much on the pain will not make that pain go away. On the contrary, it will make me miss out on the small everyday beauties of life. It can make me, dwell so much on the negative. That could be a big cause of depression and a mental fatigue. So while I try not to minimize the challenges of what it means to live life as a sickle cell patient, I'm also trying to focus more on the small blessings. I'm positive in spite of. So yes, it is challenging, very, very difficult. We manage the sickle cell with medications, and these medications are costly. It is like without these medications, you don't have life. Because whether you like it or not, you have to take them every day. Your life depends on that. The cost is heavy, very, very heavy. But somehow we manage to move on with that. For me, today I may feel pain, I will stay home and rest. And if I manage the pain doesn't want to go away, there's nothing else I can do, I will cry. I don't have any shame in that. But in those small opponents of no pain, good strength, I live my life. I use those moments to do whatever I can do within my limits and just live my life. And that has been working well for me.
Thank you for sharing so much and answering quite a number of my questions. You have given us an understanding of what is sickle cell and a glimpse into what it means to one with sickle cell. But what I respect most of all is your decision to focus on the positive as opposed to allowing the illness to control your life. And your perspective and understanding of this disease is inspirational. And you're living in Cameroon. How does this disability, being a woman, and culture intersects?
Okay, so, thank you very much. I can say yes, it does, because generally women with disabilities face a lot of challenges back here in Cameroon. Being disabled with a health condition, it's like dealing with double jeopardy, because you are dealing with two situations that face a lot of societal discrimination and stigmatization. Now, it takes a really, really strong willpower to be able to navigate this situation. Because you see, for example, when it comes to relationships, for example, it is much more easier for a man living with sickle cell to have a meaningful relationship as opposed to a woman living with sickle cell. Both of the first challenges, yes, but the disadvantages are higher for the woman, because, like I said earlier, she's already disadvantaged of the fact that she was born female. This is further compounded by the fact that not only is she born female, she is born with a disability and a health condition that is stigmatized, discriminated against. So everything revolves around that and makes it extremely difficult to navigate the gender ecosystem. So yes, it plays a role.
Thank you so much, ARREY. How challenging is it for you as a woman living with a disability to navigate the higher educational system in Cameroon or the corporate world?
Well, it is very, very challenging, because there are no systems in place to make access easy, at least to the best of my knowledge. I did not benefit from any of such systems while I was schooling. The percentage of women with disabilities who have a certain level of higher education in Cameroon is very, very small. It's not because they don't want to. It's because the system in place makes it extremely difficult for them. And without family to push them, many drop out. The same too is applicable in the corporate world. It is difficult to find a woman with disabilities in a higher position in the corporate world. There was a period of time when there was a massive recruitment sponsored by the government. That time I have just left school and was trying to look for a job. I went along with the others to deposit my files. Surprisingly, those who were in charge of collecting these files, when they saw me, their question to me was, "Are you sure you have a disability?" They found that difficult to understand or to believe that I have a disability. You see, I didn't come willing in. I didn't come tapping or bouncing with crutches. And most especially, I didn't come shabby, like somebody who is, somebody who is begging for alms, if I can put it this way. I came dressed up, confident, and it completely, it was completely opposite to their perception about how a person with disability ought to look like. And so I didn't fit into the stereotype of what they assume somebody with a disability has to look like. And because of that, they doubted whether I was truly a disabled person. And surprisingly, it was the other people with disabilities who raised their voices and told them not to judge me because of my looks, but to go through my files and if I qualify, give me the job. And you see, that experience also motivated me to start fighting and speaking out against disabilities and inclusive spaces. Another experience is that some few years back, I wanted to go for my master's program. But unfortunately, I had to drop out because this program was online and it was not inclusive. So it was very, very difficult for me to follow the lectures and to participate. And because of that, I had to drop out. It was disappointing because I really wanted to do that program. So it is tricky and very, very challenging for women with disability to navigate higher education or the corporate world in Cameroon because the opportunities are not there. Accessibility is lacking in the vast majority of places. Many speak inclusion, but the reality is far from.
Thank you. You have raised so many points. I am going to ask you to touch a little of some of the common stereotypes you encounter as a woman with disability. Common stereotype. It's the same like someone who has a mental illness. Their expectation is to look a certain way. How do you overcome those challenges? I'm going to ask you that question first, and then we will revisit inclusivity.
You know, I will talk a lot about my family because they are the source of my inspiration and confidence in life. So they raised me to be a confident young woman in spite of. And because of that, I don't let anyone look down on me. The first common stereotype is that if you have a disability, you have to look unkempt, shabby, not moving around with folders looking for a job, but sitting somewhere along the streets with a bowl begging for alms. That is a very big stereotype. So, if you appear neat, educated, confident, it is hard for many people to get off this rough mentality and accept that you have a disability, especially if you are not willing in tapping, because they have limited disabilities to people who are unrighteous, people who work weekends, people who tap as I work. So it is still very difficult for people to accept that not all disabilities are visible. That, unfortunately, is where I fall. I have an invisible disability. Since I do not fit into the stereotypes majority of the society holds, it is difficult for many people to accept that I have a disability. But I've tried over the years to show that this is the way somebody with a disability also ought to look like. And that is my own way of fighting those stereotypes. And where possible, I think I've been able to help a few people change their perceptions about how someone with a disability ought to look like. And I think that is good for a start.
What are the ways someone with disability can overcome the stigma, the stereotype, the discrimination? Share some techniques that you used to help those who may be listening to defy. I'm sorry, I know I'm not. To defy societal norms and expectations.
Okay. And I have to say further, one thing I think I should know. I love fashion. So they expect us to look shabby. I show them that you can look wild, dress up and look wild. But it doesn't change the fact that you have a disability. So fashion is one of the tools I use. I dress up confidently. And I don't give people the chance to look down on me. Another way I help people is to make them understand that being disabled in one part of your body doesn't mean you are disabled in every part of your body.
Beautiful.
You might be using your crutches. Use it with pride. That's part of your life. Your crutches help you to navigate the corridors of life. But what gives you that force is your brain. So use your brain. Your brain is there for a purpose. Use it. You don't have to let anybody look down on you because of maybe you're moving with a crutch or you're using a wheelchair. You have your brain, use it. And wherever possible for me, I'm learning to step into my power and claim my space on the table wherever possible. And if that space is not available, I ask for it, because if I don't step in to claim that space on the table, somebody else will step in and claim that space for me. And that person is not going to represent me. So you have to be confident enough to know that you belong on this space. So step in and claim your space. It begins with you having that self-confidence in yourself. It is not arrogance. It is not ego. It is just self-awareness. Your world, you are aware of your world and you are willing to use it. And that is something I try to instill in others who follow me, especially those who have similar disabilities like me.
Thank you so much, ARREY. And how do you step into your power?
I don't know how to put it, but I just know that if I find myself in a situation where I know that my voice is being trampled upon, I just stay quiet. I speak out. When we talk disabilities, for example, society most often prefers to bring in the full-bodied advocates as opposed to those who are living the reality. So there is no problem with that, because we all need all the support we can get, since it is a collective fight for the society. But if I find myself alongside a full body advocates and something that the voice of the disabled person is needed, I always speak up, because that is me needing to represent me and people like me. We wear the shoe. We know where it is pinching us, and we need that space to talk about where we feel that pinch. Someone who is advocating because they have the compassion and empathy for people with disabilities might not be able to feel that pinch and might not be able to fully articulate where that pinch is pinching much. So it is important that where representation matters, I have to step in. And I think that is a way to step in and claim my power.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I heard that it's important to know your rights and be able to maintain boundaries with others when they're even attempting to violate your rights. I heard you mention different stakeholders and the importance of becoming, as you were speaking, the importance of partnerships, because a stakeholder may not have the personal experience with sickle cell, but they might be a caregiver. There might be a relative or someone else. So I would love to unpack everything, but time would not permit us. What are some ways individuals and corporations or organizations can be inclusive for women with visible and invisible disabilities?
There are many ways that can happen. If you are setting up an office space, for example, is your employment policy inclusive? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Now, if you employ a woman with a disability, is her office space accessible? Is her desk comfortable for her disability? If the person is like me, with hearing challenges, how do you ensure that she can fully benefit and participate in office policies during staff meetings, for example? Do you make sure that she has interpreters available? How do you show that you are inclusive? You have to think about that. Organizations that organize maybe conferences, workshops, when they are putting out the RFS invitations to their budget for inclusion, because most of the time what I hear is, we did not budget for that, but we will try to do that next time. So it is important for people to think about that before, because there are many people out there with disabilities who are interested in such things and who want to benefit from it. They want to participate, they want to share their knowledge, but they are limited because there is no plan for inclusion involved in the planning process. So you have to think inclusion. If you are employing somebody with hearing impairment, think about how you can make communication easier for them. If you are employing somebody on a wheelchair, think about how accessible your office space is for them. Also, and especially for women with disabilities, it is important in the office space to ensure a safe space for them. So many women with disabilities are victims of sexual assaults and gender-based violence. Will you listen and believe them if they tell you a co-worker is assaulting them? What policies do you have in place to protect them from such sexual assaults? Or will you discard them because they are disabled and you feel that they are not worth your attention? It is important to think about these things. And when you do that, you create a safe, inclusive environment where these women with disabilities will thrive and they will be able to pour in what they have to lift up your organization. So it is very, very important to think about these aspects.
Thank you for raising important factors for even small organizations or businesses to consider, because everyone is using the term inclusivity. But are we inclusive? Even as you're talking, I'm asking myself the question. My captions are not on, and I am here sitting with a woman who is living with a hearing impairment, and it's not something I often think. What if my audience have a hearing impairment? And so I am happy to hear you list that. And now it is something that I would be considering much more in everything that I do. So I want to thank you. Thank you for that moment and for bringing me to this level of enlightenment. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm happy to hear that, and I'm happy to see that you have been thinking about this and will make changes going forward. That is one word, the first for inclusion. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And in closing, what would you like to leave with our audience? Tell us also a little about your organization and where we can get information about it. And if someone wants to lend support and to know more about sickle cell, what do they do? Where do they go?
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. My organization focuses more on a more holistic approach to sickle cell advocacy. I'm not only focusing on the pain, though it is the most important factor in sickle cell. I'm focusing also on the whole person. So I give support, provide access to medication, provide access to training and skills, because I believe in empowerment and our ability to help these individuals grow beyond dependency to living independent lives. So we want to empower them with skills. I blog joy2enjoy.com. I'm also active on social media, especially on Facebook, as ARREY. And from time to time, we create fundraisers, which helps us to raise funds to carry out our activities. Presently, we are raising funds to be able to provide essential daily medications to 200 people living with sickle cell, and also to organize skills acquisition classes for them. So if anyone is listening or wish to support us, I will be grateful to share the link with you so that you can share it with your audience. So that is basically what we do. And as we grow, we look for ways to reach our audience more, our community more, because we believe that the fight is us. We have to do our own quota to improve the quality of life of people, while we try to hold the authorities accountable, informing them on what to influence policy. But then, that's more about policies, more focus on the human factor, and that is what I try to do. Give support, give power, through empowerment. And we appreciate any support that comes in. Money, skills, anything that will help us to achieve our goals. So thank you for asking me about that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for enlightening. Thank you for helping me to become more aware and inclusive. So thank you for your time. This has been the very first episode of the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence 2024 podcast series. Be sure to join us tomorrow for day 2 of the podcast series. I'm your host, Sharman Prince. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence podcast series. We hope today's discussions inspired you to take action and support those affected by gender-based violence. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe, share it with others, and leave us a review. Your voice is crucial in spreading awareness and advocating for change. Stay connected with us on social media at Eagles Empower to Soar, EETS, and visit our website at www.eaglesoar.org. For more resources and information, let's continue this important conversation and work together to create a safer world for all. Until next time, take care and stand strong against violence.